Imagine waking up tomorrow and the chips powering every AI breakthrough in the world are suddenly out of reach for your country. That's exactly what's happening right now. China has just begun cutting Nvidia out forever, and the ripple effect is hitting US tech workers harder than anyone expected. Mass layoffs are nearing record levels, and companies that once thrived on innovation are now scrambling to stay afloat. But this isn't just about jobs. It's about control, power, and who will dominate the AI revolution. If this makes you rethink the stability of US tech and AI, hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments, because the world of work, innovation, and global power is changing faster than we ever imagined. China's recent move to cut Nvidia out of its semiconductor and AI chip supply chain represents a significant shift in global technology dynamics, and it's not a decision made lightly. For years, Nvidia has been a cornerstone of advanced computing and artificial intelligence hardware, supplying chips that power everything from data centers to AI research labs around the world. These chips are not merely products, they are critical enablers of innovation, giving companies and countries the computational power to develop cutting-edge AI models and advanced technologies. By taking steps to restrict Nvidia's access, China is signaling a strategic pivot towards self-reliance in one of the most important sectors of the modern economy. This isn't simply about trade policy or tariffs. It's about reshaping the technological ecosystem in a way that reduces dependency on foreign suppliers. Nvidia, which has long benefited from being the dominant global supplier of AI hardware, now faces a market where one of the largest and fastest growing consumer bases for its products is increasingly inaccessible. For Chinese companies, the shift is both a challenge and an opportunity. Domestic chip makers are being encouraged and funded to accelerate the development of alternatives that could rival Nvidia's offerings. And government incentives are creating an environment where local innovation is prioritized over foreign reliance. The ramifications extend far beyond corporate strategy. The decision impacts AI research, cloud computing infrastructure, and even international collaborations that rely on Nvidia technology. It also places additional pressure on US companies and workers, as market access and revenue streams are suddenly threatened. The strategic nature of this move cannot be overstated. It's about positioning China to lead in AI and advanced computing while simultaneously challenging US technological dominance. The long-term effects will influence investment decisions, global supply chain strategies, and the pace at which AI and other high-tech industries can grow internationally. In essence, China cutting Nvidia out is not just a business story. It's a geopolitical maneuver with profound implications for innovation, competitiveness, and control in the global tech landscape. The wave of mass layoffs hitting US tech companies, including industry giants, is approaching levels not seen in decades, signaling a profound shift in the labor and economic landscape. Companies that once thrived on rapid growth and constant hiring are now making tough decisions, reducing their workforce as a direct response to slowing revenues, market uncertainty, and the pressures of global competition. Nvidia, long considered a bellwether of the AI hardware sector, is among those facing the cascading effects of this trend. The layoffs are not limited to entry-level or peripheral positions. They extend across departments from engineering to operations, reflecting the depth of the challenges these companies face. For employees, the impact is immediate and deeply personal. Careers that once seemed stable are suddenly precarious, and the ripple effects reach far beyond the companies themselves. Communities that depend on the tech sector for economic activity and innovation feel the strain, as reduced spending and increased uncertainty slow local economies. Investors and stakeholders also face heightened anxiety, as layoffs often signal a larger struggle within the company, affecting stock valuations, investor confidence, and future growth prospects. The trend is particularly alarming because it comes at a time when technology and AI are central to both economic expansion and national competitiveness. The juxtaposition is stark. While the demand for AI and advanced computing continues to grow globally, The very companies producing the hardware and software necessary to meet that demand are scaling back their human resources. This creates a paradox where innovation potential exists alongside structural vulnerability, leaving companies to navigate both operational challenges and talent retention. Moreover, the layoffs highlight broader systemic issues, such as overexpansion during boom periods, reliance on speculative growth projections, and the fragility of tech-driven economies in the face of geopolitical pressures. The scale and speed of these workforce reductions underscore the urgency for companies and governments alike to rethink strategies, workforce planning, and global positioning in a highly competitive and uncertain technological era. It also serves as a sobering reminder that even the most successful sectors are vulnerable to rapid disruption and shifting global dynamics, making adaptability and strategic foresight more critical than ever. The semiconductor industry, long considered the backbone of modern technology, is now at a critica. Tipping point, with global supply chains under unprecedented pressure. This tipping point is driven not only by technological demand, but also by geopolitical tensions that have escalated over recent years. Semiconductors are no longer just components in consumer electronics. They are the foundation of artificial intelligence, advanced computing, telecommunications, and defense systems. Any disruption in their production or distribution has far-reaching consequences, affecting national security, corporate profitability, and the pace of innovation worldwide. The combination of surging demand for AI chips and sophisticated processors with restrictions on exports and international cooperation has created a highly volatile environment. Companies like Nvidia, Intel, and TSMC operate within this fragile ecosystem, where a single policy change or market shift can ripple through multiple continents, impacting billions of dollars in revenue and technological advancement. Geopolitical tensions, particularly between the US and China, have exacerbated this fragility. Export controls, restrictions on advanced chip sales, and the push for technological independence in China have forced companies to rethink long-standing supply chain strategies. These shifts are not merely temporary disruptions. They are reshaping how semiconductor production, research, and innovation will function for years to come. Beyond the corporate and political implications, the tipping point in semiconductors has profound consequences for global consumers and industries. Shortages, delays, and price volatility affect not only tech companies, but also automotive manufacturers, healthcare systems, and infrastructure projects that rely on advanced chips. Innovation cycles, which once followed predictable patterns, are now under pressure as companies scramble to secure resources and alternative suppliers. At same time, countries are investing heavily in domestic semiconductor production, creating a new landscape where access to cutting-edge technology is increasingly tied to national strategy rather than open markets. This moment marks a turning point in global technological development, where the ability to produce, distribute, and control semiconductors has become a key determinant of economic power, security, and influence on the world stage. And the next few years will define which nations and companies emerge as the dominant players. China's pursuit of self-reliance in AI and advanced computing markets is reshaping the global technology landscape in ways that are both strategic and far-reaching. For years, China relied heavily on foreign suppliers, particularly US companies like Nvidia, for the cutting-edge chips necessary to power artificial intelligence, data centers, and high-performance computing. These chips are not ordinary components. They are the engines driving innovation in AI models, machine learning applications, and sophisticated computing tasks that underpin industries from healthcare to finance. By deliberately reducing dependency on foreign technology, China is signaling a long-term vision to develop a domestic ecosystem capable of producing comparable or even superior hardware independently. This initiative is supported by massive government investment, policy incentives, and a focus on nurturing local talent, all aimed at accelerating the development of homegrown semiconductor and AI capabilities. The implications of this shift are profound. US companies that once enjoyed near total access to China's vast market now face structural barriers, limiting their revenue potential and influencing strategic decisions about production, partnerships, and research priorities. On the Chinese side, domestic firms are rapidly advancing, driven by both the pressure of necessity and state-supported resources, which allows them to close the technological gap faster than many expected. This drive for self-sufficiency is not just a business maneuver, it is a strategic effort to secure technological leadership and reduce vulnerability to external pressures, such as export controls or geopolitical conflicts. Beyond the immediate corporate impact, this shift affects global innovation patterns. AI research, hardware development, and collaborative projects will increasingly be influenced by national priorities rather than purely market-driven forces, potentially creating parallel technology ecosystems with limited interoperability. Furthermore, global investors and supply chain managers must now navigate a world where access to critical AI and computing technology is uneven and subject to strategic national interests. As China accelerates its path toward technological independence, the balance of power in AI and advanced computing is likely to shift, challenging the dominance of established players, redefining innovation pathways, and shaping the future of global technology competition for decades to come. The mounting pressure on U.S. investors and tech workers due to recent layoffs and market shifts reflects a deeper vulnerability within the technology sector that is often overlooked. For investors, the rapid pace of change in AI, semiconductors, and advanced computing presents both opportunity and risk, but the current environment leans heavily toward uncertainty. Companies that once promised rapid growth and high returns are now facing slowing demand, geopolitical restrictions, and supply chain disruptions, which directly impact stock valuations and investor confidence. When a major player like Nvidia experiences restricted market access, revenue projections are immediately affected, causing fluctuations in share prices and raising concerns about long-term profitability. This volatility is compounded by the broader context of U.S. tech layoffs, which are approaching record levels and highlight structural weaknesses within companies that expanded aggressively during boom periods. For tech workers, the consequences are immediate and personal. Job security, once assumed in thriving sectors, has become fragile, creating stress, uncertainty, and career disruptions that ripple across entire communities. Highly skilled engineers, software developers, and AI specialists face the dual challenge of finding new employment in a contracting market while adapting to rapidly evolving technologies and shifting corporate priorities. The layoffs also underscore the interdependence of global markets. When U.S. companies lose access to major international clients or face stiff competition from foreign manufacturers, the resulting financial strain often leads to workforce reductions at home. Beyond immediate employment concerns, this environment influences career planning, talent retention, and workforce mobility, as highly trained professionals may seek opportunities abroad or in different sectors altogether. For investors, the risk is not only financial but also strategic, as companies' ability to innovate and maintain market dominance depends heavily on their capacity to attract and retain talent. Ultimately, the mounting pressures highlight a convergence of economic, technological, and geopolitical factors that directly affect both investors' portfolios and tech workers' livelihoods. The combination of market volatility, layoffs, and global competition signals a challenging era ahead, where adaptation, strategic foresight, and resilience will determine who thrives and who struggles in the evolving U.S. technology landscape. Nvidia's position as a dominant force in AI hardware is now being challenged more directly than ever before, as Chinese domestic chip makers accelerate their development programs and receive substantial government backing. For years, Nvidia has been widely regarded as the gold standard for high-performance graphics processing units, GPUs, and AI accelerators, providing the computational backbone for everything from advanced machine learning models to cloud-based AI services. Its technology has been critical for companies and research institutions worldwide, giving Nvidia not just market dominance, but also a perceived strategic advantage in shaping the future of AI. However, China's push for self-reliance is redefining the competitive landscape. Domestic chip makers, benefiting from significant funding, state-of-the-art research facilities, and a focused national strategy, are rapidly closing the gap in terms of performance, efficiency, and scalability. The Chinese government's support is not limited to financial incentives. It also includes access to cutting-edge fabrication facilities, talent pipelines, and regulatory frameworks designed to accelerate innovation while minimizing reliance on foreign suppliers. This shift presents a direct challenge to Nvidia's market control, as Chinese firms aim to replace imported chips with domestic alternatives that can meet or exceed global performance standards. The competition is not just a matter of price or availability. It has geopolitical implications, affecting how AI infrastructure develops in one of the world's largest technology markets. For Nvidia, this means navigating a landscape where access to China, which represents billions in potential revenue, is increasingly restricted or uncertain. Beyond revenue concerns, the emergence of capable domestic competitors threatens Nvidia's ability to influence AI development worldwide, as alternative technologies could lead to parallel ecosystems that diverge from US-dominated standards. The implications extend further into research, innovation partnerships, and supply chain resilience. As Chinese chip makers gain ground, Nvidia will need to adapt its strategies, potentially focusing on new markets, enhancing product differentiation, or investing in global partnerships to maintain influence. The competitive pressure underscores a broader trend in the global tech sector. Dominance is no longer guaranteed, and strategic agility, innovation, and geopolitical awareness have become essential for sustaining leadership in AI hardware. The global balance of technological power is undergoing a dramatic shift, and China's strategic prioritization of technological independence is at the center of this transformation. For decades, the United States maintained a dominant position in semiconductors, AI, and advanced computing, with companies like Nvidia, Intel, and AMD leading innovation and controlling critical supply chains. This dominance provided not only economic advantage, but also geopolitical leverage, as access to cutting-edge technology became a form of soft power in international relations. However, China's concerted efforts to build domestic capabilities are challenging this long-standing hierarchy. By investing heavily in semiconductor fabrication, AI hardware, and talent development, China is reducing its reliance on foreign technology and asserting greater control over its technological destiny. This is not merely an industrial policy, but a strategic maneuver aimed at securing national security, economic growth, and global influence in the next wave of technological advancement. The implications for global power dynamics are profound. Countries and corporations that previously relied on US technology may find themselves increasingly navigating a bifurcated ecosystem, where Chinese standards, innovations, and supply chains operate independently of Western frameworks. For US companies, this means potential revenue loss, limited market access, and increased competition from state-supported Chinese firms. For policymakers, it raises questions about maintaining competitiveness, protecting intellectual property, and ensuring that the US retains leadership in critical technologies. The shift also affects innovation trajectories, as research, product development, and global collaboration become influenced by national priorities, rather than purely market-driven considerations. Beyond the corporate and policy implications, the broader geopolitical landscape is being reshaped. Technological independence translates into strategic leverage, allowing China to assert its position in global negotiations, trade agreements, and international standard-setting bodies. It also changes the calculus for other nations seeking to navigate relationships between the US and China, as access to critical technology becomes a tool of influence. The shift in global tech power is not gradual, it is accelerating, and the consequences will reverberate through economic, political, and security arenas, forcing nations and companies alike to reconsider strategies, partnerships, and long-term planning in a rapidly evolving technological world. The consequences of China cutting Nvidia out of its market extend far beyond corporate earnings, reaching into the broader landscape of U.S. technological leadership and employment stability. Nvidia has long been a symbol of American innovation and dominance in AI hardware, providing the computational backbone for industries that rely on advanced machine learning, cloud computing, and data analytics. By losing access to one of the largest and fastest-growing technology markets in the world, Nvidia faces not only immediate revenue impacts, but also long-term strategic challenges that could affect its ability to innovate and maintain global influence. The ripple effects are equally profound for the U.S. workforce. Mass layoffs in the tech sector, approaching record levels, are partly a reflection of these market restrictions, as companies are forced to reassess growth projections, investment strategies, and staffing needs. Engineers, developers, and AI specialists, whose skills are critical to maintaining competitive advantage, are suddenly navigating an uncertain employment environment where job security is fragile and opportunities may be geographically or politically constrained. The impact is compounded by the interconnected nature of global supply chains. U.S. companies that rely on Nvidia technology for product development, research, and services must now contend with delays, increased costs, or the need to pivot to alternative solutions, affecting productivity and competitiveness across multiple industries. Investors are also paying close attention as reduced market access and rising competition from Chinese domestic chip makers introduce volatility into stock valuations, raising concerns about long-term growth prospects. On a strategic level, the situation underscores the vulnerability of U.S. technological leadership when global access to critical components is restricted. The challenge is not simply economic. It is also geopolitical, as the U.S. must contend with an emerging landscape where technological influence is increasingly contested, and national security concerns are intertwined with commercial interests. The combination of market restrictions, workforce instability, and competitive pressure signals a pivotal moment for U.S. companies, policymakers, and investors alike, highlighting the urgent need for strategic planning, innovation resilience, and adaptability to maintain technological leadership and economic stability in a rapidly evolving global environment.